A few years ago, a parishioner friend of mine, big football fan, asked if I watched any of the games. In particular, he was asking me if I used to watch a show called Hard Knocks. It was on cable television. You know, I had to confess to him that my TV wasn't connected at that time, and he looked at me like I just arrived from Jupiter. He couldn't believe that. Well, he started to tell me about this Hard Knocks show, and that particular year they had a camera team in with one of the teams involved in their training camp in the summertime before the fall season began. I think it was with the Cleveland Browns, and there was one particular player, a wide receiver who, very, very effusive guy, and whenever he'd make a play, not big play, just any play at all, end of the play, he'd say, "Bless him." You know, he'd make a catch over the middle. Bless him. He'd make a long gain downfield. Bless him. He'd return a kickoff or a punt. Bless him. Score a touchdown? Yeah. High fives all around. Bless him. You know, I'm listening to this, and I must admit, I didn't play much football. I was a little more of a baseball and hockey player. And by the way, my knees remind me at least twice a week at this point in my life what a wonderful choice it was to play baseball and hockey back in the day. But aside from that, you know, I went out for my high school football team. Mercifully, I lasted one practice before I was cut. Bless them. That was good. Well, all that aside, I mean, I thought to myself, you know, player would do that? Is he showing up the other players? No. It turns out, to him, bless him wasn't in your face to the other team. Bless him was, God has given me gifts. I get to play a kid's game, and they pay me a lot of money. I give thanks to God for the chance to use my gifts. So he's thanking God. He's showing gratitude. Bless him. I like to think that as spiritual people, we're hardwired to seek closeness with God. We're hardwired to offer our thanks and praise to God for things great and small and everything in between. So I thought it was great that he was giving thanks. Not everyone does in this day and time, do they? Still, for him though, every expression of his own gift from God was a blessing to the world. How do you fit that head inside that helmet, you know? His family, his fans, the fantasy football people, well, they thought he was pretty good. Bless him. But still, I'm not sure that's how blessing works. I mean, there are times I'd like to see the world this way, but there are many other people living with very different circumstances and experiences. I can recall when I was a seminarian, my last 2 years, we all had assignments in parishes on weekends. I was in downtown Washington, D.C. at St. Aloysius. The neighborhood was so interesting and so tough, there were no evening meetings in that parish. I was the pastor of Blessed Sacrament in Albany on Central Avenue for a few years. In both places, I met lots of people who were poor, who lived difficult lives in the midst of violence in their neighborhoods. And yeah, I grew up in Troy. I grew up in North Central. That's a scruffy place too. I've seen a lot of these things along the way. I know people who worry about their children, worry about their elderly parents and their neighbors. I used to visit people for communion calls once a month who had 3 padlocks on their doors. Jarvis Landry of the Browns signed a contract 4 years for $75 million. He smiles a lot. Bless him. I know people who live in the midst of grinding poverty. They smile a lot too. Bless them. The language of blessing is on our lips and our hearts. How's that lined up that somebody who seems to have the world on a string smiles a lot, but some people who have next to nothing, they feel blessed too? The Gospels in general and Luke in particular talk to us about Jesus and the way in which he truly loves the poor. John's Gospel and Luke's Gospel particularly so. Maybe this is too harsh a thing to say first thing in the morning. Maybe sometimes we count our blessings in things. But people who don't have much count their blessings in blessings. In Luke's Gospel today, Jesus overturns our ideas about what it means to be blessed. In today's Super Bowl, the big star might be the hero who scores the late touchdown, or the unheralded lineman who falls on a fumble and recovers it. Bless them as they celebrate. In Luke's gospel today, Jesus celebrates the poor. Bless them, celebrates the hungry. Bless them, those who weep. Bless them, those who are hated. Bless them. These are Luke's Beatitudes. We all know Matthew's Beatitudes. Luke's Beatitudes get us to sit back and think. Turns our world upside down if we're open to the possibilities. Often, I thought I was blessed if things were going my way. Maybe you have that feeling too. Is my life comfortable? Bless me. Do I have a few bucks in my pocket? Bless me. Are all the lights turning green before I have to touch the brakes? Bless me. I guess those are signs that God's smiling on me and God loves me. But Luke's Beatitudes totally overturned my expectations, and they caused me to look at blessing in a different way. Jesus turns expectations upside down. Jesus shows us that that sufferings can be the pathway to receive blessings. Things that we run away from, hide from, avoid, things that we want to cover up so no one else can see them, are actually pathways to God's grace. Not that we should seek suffering out. I had a wise old priest once say to me, Joe, don't go looking for suffering. Suffering will find you along the way. He was right. I like to think that taking things away now in my mid-60s, I can look back at my life a little bit and realize that suffering will seek us all out. But in suffering, we seek out God in new ways. We can see things through different eyes. In my life, I've had moments of suffering that search me out. They find me. Jesus reminds us that your life will know the reality of suffering and difficulty. There is sin in the world. Suffering will come to meet us. Suffering will be our companion from time to time along the journey. But even then, you don't have to be afraid. When we are poor, or broken, or hungry, or mourning, or persecuted, if we're honest with ourselves, all of us at one time or another are poor, or broken, or hungry, or mourning, or persecuted in one way or another. And this is an invitation to look into blessing. This incompleteness in our lives, this brokenness in our lives, leads us closer to Jesus. You bring your whole self with all your victories, all your joys, all your challenges, and everything in between as the potential to see God in different ways and to seek out the Lord and to receive for you and your sisters and brothers blessings for everyone. You don't have to hide your weaknesses or your problems. They are yours. They're part of who you are. And they too are pathways which will help you to share in God's blessings and to give those blessings to a world that hungers and thirsts for everything that God has to offer. Remember, folks, as you are, God made you. As you are, God calls you to follow, to live, to breathe, to give thanks and praise, to share God's blessings, witness to his presence in the world. Hey folks, bless God and bless you. Always.